Welcome back to our channel, Rare Coins Collections, Coin Enthusiasts and Collectors. Today, we're diving into the world of rare US coins, and we have a real gem to discuss, the 1979 Lincoln 1-cent penny. While most people might overlook this seemingly ordinary penny, it actually holds quite a bit of potential for collectors, and if you have one in your possession, it could be worth a lot more than just 1 cent. So, if you've ever wondered about the value of this coin, stick around as we unravel the secrets of the 1979 Lincoln penny and reveal just how much it could be worth today. Let's start with some background. The year 1979 may seem like a regular year, but when it comes to coins, there's more to it than meets the eye. The 1970s were a transformative decade for the United States, especially in terms of its economy and monetary policy. The country was recovering from the economic instability of the previous years, and inflation was starting to take its toll. But amidst all of this, the U.S. Mint continued its coin production, including the Lincoln penny, which had been in circulation for over 100 years at that point. The Lincoln penny, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, has become one of the most recognizable and iconic coins in U.S. history. However, by 1979, it was due for another subtle update in its design, as it had gone through various changes over the decades. The most notable of these changes, of course, was the shift in materials. For years, pennies were made of solid copper, but in the 1970s, the Mint began using a copper-plated zinc composition for pennies. This change would ultimately impact the 1979 penny and make certain versions more valuable than others. The composition of the 1979 penny is something worth noting. Pennies from this year were still predominantly made of copper, but in the late 1970s, the Mint began phasing in a new process that used a mix of copper and zinc. The result was a penny that has a slightly different appearance and weight compared to its predecessors. This shift in materials marked the beginning of a trend that would continue for decades, making pennies from the early years of this transition especially desirable to collectors. Now, let's talk about the 1979 Lincoln penny and why it could be worth a small fortune. You might be wondering, what makes a 1979 penny worth so much? There are actually a few factors at play here, so let's break them down. The first thing to understand is that not all 1979 pennies are created equal. While most of these coins are readily available in circulation and are worth only their face value, there are certain varieties of the 1979 penny that are highly sought after by collectors. The key here is rarity and condition. While thousands, or even millions, of 1979 pennies were produced, a small number of them were struck in unusual ways or made in rare conditions that make them stand out. One of the most famous and valuable varieties of the 1979 Lincoln penny is the doubled die error. This happens when the coin is struck by the die multiple times, causing the design to appear doubled or shifted. The doubling typically occurs in the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," or even the date, 1979, itself. This is one of the most coveted minting errors among collectors because it's relatively rare and makes the coin more visually distinctive. If you happen to have a 1979 penny with this doubling effect, especially one where the error is noticeable and clearly visible, you could be holding a highly valuable coin. The demand for these doubled die pennies has driven their price up, making them a popular target for collectors looking to add a unique piece to their collection. The higher the degree of doubling and the better the condition of the coin, the more valuable it becomes. A 1979 double-dyed penny in mint condition can command a significant price in the market, so be on the lookout for this rare error. Another reason why the 1979 penny can be worth more than you'd expect has to do with its overall condition. Coins that are in excellent, uncirculated condition are far rarer than coins that have been in circulation for years, handling the wear and tear of daily use. When it comes to collecting coins, condition is paramount. A coin that looks like it just came from the U.S. Mint, no scratches, no discoloration, no signs of wear, will always fetch a higher price. If your 1979 penny looks pristine and is free from blemishes, you might just have a valuable find on your hands. In addition to the double die error, Other types of minting errors could add to the value of a 1979 penny. One example is the off-center strike error. This occurs when a coin is struck off-center, resulting in a design that's misaligned or incomplete. These types of errors can create visually interesting and unique coins that collectors highly value, especially if the error is significant. A 1979 penny with a noticeable off-center strike can bring in a premium price, particularly if it's in great condition. Another mint error that can enhance the value of the 1979 penny is the broad strike error. Broad strikes occur when a coin is struck without a collar, causing the metal to spread out and form a wider coin. These coins are usually misshapen and can look quite unusual, but they are considered an error and are highly collectible. If you happen to find a 1979 penny with a broad strike, especially one that's in good condition, you could have a valuable coin worth much more than its face value. It's also important to note that the 1979 penny's value isn't just determined by its composition and potential errors. The scarcity of specific versions of the coin also plays a huge role in its worth. For instance, certain mint marks are rarer than others, depending on where the coin was struck. In 1979, pennies were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, and the coins from these different mints may have slightly different values. A 1979 penny from the Philadelphia Mint, marked with the P mint mark, might not carry the same value as a 1979 penny minted in Denver, which is often more desirable. All of these factors, the composition, the minting errors, the condition of the coin, and the mint marks, combine to determine the ultimate value of your 1979 Lincoln penny. If you're lucky enough to have a 1979 penny with a double die error, it could be worth significantly more than the typical version. Coins in uncirculated condition with no wear or damage can also fetch a premium price, especially if they're free from scratches and maintain their original shine. Now, after all of this, you must be wondering just how much the 1979 Lincoln penny could be worth if you have one of these rare varieties. Well, if you happen to own a 1979 penny with a double die error, or if you have one in mint condition with other desirable features, the value can be substantial. In fact, depending on the condition and rarity of your coin, it could be worth as much as $45,000. That's right. A single 1979 penny could fetch an impressive $45,000, making it one of the most valuable pennies you'll ever come across. So, the next time you come across a 1979 penny, take a closer look. It might just be more valuable than you think. Whether you have a double die error or an uncirculated penny in excellent condition, you could be holding on to a rare treasure. Today, we have something truly exciting to discuss. The 1975 United States Lincoln 1-cent penny. This particular penny might not seem like much to the average person, but as you'll soon find out, there's more to this coin than meets the eye. In fact, a 1975 Lincoln penny could be worth far more than its 1-cent face value. If you happen to have one in your collection, especially one with unique features or errors, you may be holding a valuable treasure. Let's take a deeper dive into the history and background of this iconic coin. The Lincoln penny has been in circulation for well over a century. Since it was first introduced in 1909, it has gone through various design changes, and the 1975 version is no exception. By the time 1975 came around, the U.S. Mint had already made several notable updates to the penny, including changes in its composition and the famous redesign of the reverse side in the 1950s. But 1975 was still a transitional period in coin production, which makes this year's penny worth investigating. During the mid-1970s, the U.S. economy was experiencing a period of high inflation, as well as other economic challenges. These changes affected the cost of producing coins, and in response, the U.S. Mint began using a new material mix for the penny. Prior to 1982, pennies were made primarily of copper, but in the years leading up to 1982, the U.S. Mint started to introduce zinc into the mix of pennies. This shift in composition meant that pennies from 1975, like other coins from the era, were composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. These pennies not only reflect the era in which they were made, but also showcased the materials that were used before the shift to a copper-plated zinc composition a few years later. Now, let's talk about the design of the 1975 Lincoln penny. On the obverse, or front side, you'll see the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, has been the face of the penny since its introduction, and he remains one of the most iconic figures in U.S. coinage. The portrait of Lincoln on the 1975 penny was designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, and it has remained virtually unchanged since it was first struck in 1909. But what makes the 1975 penny stand out? While it may seem like just another standard Lincoln penny, there are a few things that collectors should keep in mind when determining the value of a coin. First, it's all about rarity. Like any coin, the more rare it is, the more likely it is to be worth more than its face value. But of course, rarity alone doesn't determine value. Condition is just as important. Most of the 1975 pennies that were produced were used in everyday transactions, meaning they went through years of wear and tear. It's rare to find a coin from this time period that's still in mint condition, and the condition of your 1975 penny is a key factor when determining its value. If your 1975 penny is free from scratches, discoloration, or other damage, then it could be worth significantly more than just 1-cent coins that are in near-perfect or uncirculated condition are always in high demand, especially for collectors who are looking to add pristine examples to their collections. But the value of the 1975 penny can increase exponentially if it has certain rare features or errors. Minting errors are an essential part of coin collecting, and they can make an otherwise ordinary coin incredibly valuable. A variety of mint errors can happen during the coin production process, resulting in coins with unusual characteristics or mistakes. One of the most sought-after errors in the 1975 penny series is the double die error. This occurs when the coin's design is struck multiple times, causing the image to appear doubled in certain areas. For the 1975 penny, this often happens in the lettering or date, resulting in a more pronounced, blurry appearance. A 1975 Lincoln penny with a double die error is a rare find and can be worth much more than the typical penny from that year. The error itself may not be easy to spot at first glance, so it's crucial to carefully inspect your coin. Look for signs of doubled lettering in the words, "Liberty, in God We Trust," or even the year, 1975. If you find this error on your penny, you might have just stumbled upon a valuable piece of history. Another potential error to look out for is the off-center strike. This occurs when a coin is struck by the minting press in an off-center position, causing the design to appear misaligned. In some cases, an off-center strike can result in part of the coin's design being cut off, leaving an incomplete image. Although this error is more commonly found on larger coins, it's not impossible to find it on a penny. An off-center 1975 penny can be quite valuable, especially if the misalignment is noticeable and the coin is in good condition. In addition to minting errors, the value of your 1975 penny can also be influenced by its specific mint mark. In 1975, pennies were minted at 3 different U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins struck at each of these mints feature a different mint mark. For the 1975 penny, the most common mint marks are the D for Denver and the S for San Francisco. However, the Philadelphia mint struck pennies without a mint mark, which makes them slightly more valuable to collectors. Depending on the rarity of the specific mint mark and the condition of the coin, some 1975 pennies can command a higher price on the market. As you can see, there are several factors that contribute to the potential value of a 1975 Lincoln penny. Rarity, condition, minting errors, and mint marks all play a role in determining how much a particular coin can be worth. So, what's the potential value of a 1975 penny if you happen to have one in excellent condition or with an error? Well, a typical 1975 penny in circulation might only be worth a few cents above face value. However, if you have a coin with a double die error or other significant minting errors, your penny could fetch a much higher price from collectors. In fact, depending on the condition and features of the coin, a 1975 Lincoln penny could be worth as much as $48,000. Yes, you read that right, $48,000. That's an incredible sum for a coin that might just be hiding in your pocket change. If you have a 1975 Lincoln penny in excellent condition or with one of these rare errors, it could be worth more than you ever imagined. So, if you happen to come across a 1975 penny, make sure to take a closer look. It could be the key to a valuable discovery. Don't forget to carefully examine your pennies for any minting errors, and be sure to check the condition of the coin. If you find one that stands out from the rest, you may be holding on to a piece of history that's worth a fortune. Today, we have something truly special to talk about: the 1981 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that's often overlooked but could actually hold significant value, especially if you happen to have one in exceptional condition or with some unique features. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, this coin is one you'll want to learn more about because its worth might just surprise you. To understand why this seemingly humble penny can be so valuable, we need to take a look at the history and context behind the 1981 Lincoln penny. By 1981, the penny had been circulating in the United States for over 70 years, with the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side. This penny has been a constant in American currency, symbolizing the nation's appreciation for Lincoln's leadership and legacy. The design of the penny has evolved over the years, but the 1981 version follows the classic pattern. On the obverse, you'll find the profile of Lincoln, created by Victor David Brenner in 1909. This design has remained a constant throughout the years and is one of the most recognized coin images in the world. The reverse of the 1981 penny showcases the familiar wheat ears design that was used from 1909 to 1958. However, after 1958, the U.S. Mint transitioned to the Lincoln Memorial design, which continued on the reverse of the penny until 2008. Now, you may be wondering, what makes a 1981 penny special, and why should it be worth more than just 1 cent? Well, the truth is that it's all about rarity, condition, and potential minting errors. While most 1981 pennies are just your average coins that you'll find in circulation, there are a few key reasons why they can be worth significantly more than face value. First, let's talk about the composition of the penny. By 1981, the U.S. Mint was still using a high percentage of copper in the penny's composition. The penny in 1981 was made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a material mix that contributed to the weight and durability of the coin. The 1981 penny is distinct because it was minted during a time when the cost of producing copper coins was becoming increasingly expensive. In fact, the cost of copper used in coins eventually led to the minting of pennies made from a copper-plated zinc composition starting in 1982. So, in a way, the 1981 penny is a bit of a transition coin, as it was produced in the last year before the composition change. When it comes to determining the value of a 1981 penny, the condition of the coin is incredibly important. Like any collectible item, the better the condition, the more valuable the item is. Most of the pennies from 1981 are worn down due to years of circulation. They may have scratches, discoloration, or other signs of wear that reduce their value. However, a 1981 penny in uncirculated or nearly perfect condition can be worth a lot more than just its 1 cent face value. But what truly sets some 1981 pennies apart from the rest are the rare minting errors that occur during the coin production process. Minting errors are a key area of interest for collectors because they can turn an ordinary coin into a highly valuable one. These errors happen when something goes wrong during the minting process, resulting in a coin that has a unique characteristic, making it stand out from the rest. The 1981 penny, like many coins, is no stranger to such errors. One of the most well-known minting errors in the 1981 penny is the double die error. This error occurs when the die used to stamp the image onto the coin is misaligned, causing the design to appear doubled in certain areas, particularly on the date and lettering. For example, you may notice that the number 1 in the year 1981 appears doubled, or the word Liberty might look blurry or have extra lines. This double die error can increase the value of a penny exponentially, as it makes the coin much more rare and desirable to collectors. In addition to the double die error, another minting flaw to look out for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned with the minting press, causing the design to be struck off-center. An off-center strike can leave part of the coin's design incomplete, or make it appear misaligned. If you have a 1981 penny with an off-center strike, especially if the misalignment is substantial, your coin could be worth much more than a typical 1981 penny. Another common minting error to keep an eye out for is the die crack error. A die crack occurs when the die used to mint the coins develops a crack, and that crack gets transferred onto the coin. These cracks usually appear as lines or breaks in the design, and they are often seen around the edges of the coin. While die cracks are not as dramatic as a double die error, they still make a coin more interesting and could increase its value to collectors who are searching for unique pieces. Mint marks are also an important factor when it comes to determining the value of a 1981 penny. In 1981, pennies were minted at 3 different U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The mint marks for these facilities are placed on the obverse of the coin, just below the date. Coins minted in Philadelphia typically don't have a mint mark, while Denver minted coins feature the D mint mark, and San Francisco minted coins feature the S mint mark. While all 3 mint marks are common for the 1981 penny, some collectors prefer one over the other, and certain mint marks could make a coin more desirable depending on the specific collector's interest. A 1981 penny without a mint mark, minted in Philadelphia, is often slightly rarer than those with mint marks from Denver or San Francisco, which could contribute to its increased value. Now that we've covered the factors that make a 1981 penny special, let's talk about the potential value of this coin. Most 1981 pennies you'll find are worth only a few cents above face value. However, a 1981 penny in excellent condition, especially if it has one of the aforementioned minting errors, can be worth significantly more. If you happen to have a 1981 Lincoln penny with an error such as a double die, an off-center strike, or a die crack, and it's in uncirculated or near-perfect condition, it could be worth a small fortune. For a truly rare and pristine 1981 penny, especially one with a noteworthy error, you could be looking at a price of $55,000. Yes, that's right, $55,000. That's the kind of value that can turn a coin worth only 1 cent into a treasure worth thousands. So, if you have any 1981 Lincoln pennies in your collection, make sure to inspect them carefully. Check for errors, examine their condition, and take note of the mint mark. You could be holding on to a coin worth far more than you ever imagined. It's incredible to think that a coin as simple as the 1981 penny could hold such value, and the right one could change your life. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of one of the most iconic coins in American currency, the 1982 Lincoln 1-cent penny. You might be thinking, it's just a penny, right? How could it possibly be worth anything more than its face value? Well, think again, because this particular penny could potentially be worth a fortune. Stick around until the end of the video to find out exactly how much a 1982 Lincoln penny could fetch today, especially if you have a rare version with an intriguing history. Let's start by taking a step back in time. The 1982 penny was produced during a period of major changes for the U.S. Mint. At that time, the United States was experiencing an economic shift. The cost of producing pennies had been rising sharply due to the high price of copper, the material traditionally used in the coin's composition. As a result, the U.S. Mint made a significant decision in 1982 to alter the penny's material composition. Up until then, pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. However, in 1982, the Mint switched to a new formula where the penny was primarily made of 97.5% zinc, with only a thin copper coating on the outside. This change helped reduce the overall cost of minting the coins. Interestingly, 1982 is unique because both the old copper composition and the new zinc-based composition were used that year, meaning there were 2 distinct types of pennies minted, the copper-alloyed pennies and the new zinc-based pennies. The exact breakdown of how many of each was made varies, and that's what makes this year particularly interesting to collectors. In fact, if you happen to have one of the copper pennies from 1982, it could be worth much more than a penny, especially if it's in great condition or has a rare minting error. Now, let's talk about the design of the 1982 Lincoln penny. As you may know, the Lincoln penny has featured the image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse since it was first minted in 1909. The original design, created by Victor David Brenner, shows Lincoln in profile. Over the years, the coin's design has remained the same, with only minor adjustments made. The reverse of the 1982 penny features the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This was the reverse design from 1959 to 2008, before it was replaced by the shield design. Although the design remained unchanged, what makes the 1982 penny so special is the transition in its composition. This year marks the last year that the United States Mint produced pennies with a predominantly copper content before they switched to the zinc-based alloy. The last copper pennies were minted in large quantities, but the total number of copper pennies minted in 1982 is much lower than the zinc-based ones. That makes the copper pennies rarer and much more sought after. What does this mean for collectors? Well, the copper-based 1982 pennies are much more valuable. You might find a regular zinc-based penny in circulation for a few cents, but a copper penny from 1982 can be worth much more, especially if it's in great condition or has a minting error. The demand for these copper pennies has been steadily increasing, making them a popular item for coin collectors to hunt down. One of the most significant factors that contribute to the value of a 1982 penny is its condition. Coins are graded based on their level of wear, and the higher the grade, the more valuable the coin can be. Most 1982 pennies you find today are not in perfect condition because they've been in circulation for decades. However, if you happen to come across one in mint state, meaning it has no signs of wear, scratches, or discoloration, it can be worth much more than just 1 cent, but that's not all. The 1982 penny is also a popular coin for collectors because of the minting errors that occurred during the production process. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during the coin's strike, causing the final product to have unique characteristics that make it stand out. These errors can significantly increase the value of a coin, as collectors are always looking for rare and unusual pieces. One of the most sought-after minting errors for the 1982 penny is the double die error. This occurs when the design on the die used to strike the coin becomes misaligned, resulting in a doubling effect where the design appears blurry or duplicated. In the case of the 1982 penny, this doubling can often be seen on the date, the Liberty inscription, or even on Lincoln's profile. A 1982 penny with a noticeable double die error can fetch a much higher price than a standard 1982 penny, depending on the extent of the error. Another minting error that could make your 1982 penny worth a lot more is the off-center strike. This happens when the penny is not properly aligned during the minting process, causing part of the design to be struck off the edge of the coin. An off-center 1982 penny can be a rare find and is particularly valuable if the misalignment is significant. Furthermore, there are also die cracks and planchet flaws that can occur during the minting process. A die crack happens when the die used to strike the coins develops a crack, and that crack shows up on the coin as a raised line or break in the design. Planchet flaws occur when the metal used to make the coin has imperfections, which can affect the coin's appearance. If you have a 1982 penny with any of these errors, you might have a rare and valuable find in your hands. Now, let's talk about the mint marks. The mint mark on a coin indicates where it was minted. For the 1982 penny, there were 3 different mint marks used. The most common mint mark for the 1982 pennies is the D, which indicates that the penny was minted at the Denver Mint. The S mint mark, indicating the San Francisco Mint, is rarer, and the No mint mark variety indicates that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The coins from the Denver and Philadelphia mints are more common, but a 1982 penny with an S mint mark, or even one with a unique error, could be worth much more. At this point, you're probably wondering just how much a 1982 penny could be worth. If you have a copper penny from 1982 that's in excellent condition, with no signs of wear, or perhaps even one with a rare minting error, you could be looking at a valuable coin. Even better, if you have a 1982 penny that's in uncirculated condition, the value could be much higher. Now for the big reveal. If you have an extremely rare, uncirculated, an error-free 1982 penny, you could be holding on to something worth $65,000. Yes, you heard that right, $65,000. A 1982 penny in excellent condition with the right minting errors could fetch a fortune, making this seemingly simple coin a real treasure. So, if you're a coin collector or just someone who likes to hunt for rare finds, make sure to take a close look at your 1982 pennies. You never know, you might have a hidden gem worth far more than just 1 cent. Make sure to check for minting errors, examine the condition carefully, and don't forget to look for those elusive copper alloyed pennies that were only minted in 1982. Today, we're delving into a remarkable piece of U.S. currency history, the 1980 Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, you might think it's just another penny, right? A simple, everyday coin that you've probably handled countless times. But wait, don't let its small size and low face value fool you. This particular penny holds far more value than most people realize. Stick around until the end, because today we're uncovering the true worth of the 1980 Lincoln penny, and you might just be shocked at the incredible value it could fetch on the market. Before we dive into its value, let's take a moment to explore the background and context of the 1980 Lincoln penny. This coin was minted during a time when the U.S. economy was facing some interesting challenges and changes. The late 1970s and early 1980s were marked by high inflation and economic volatility, and as a result, there were numerous shifts in U.S. coinage. The production of pennies during this time was influenced by the rising cost of copper, the metal traditionally used to make U.S. pennies. In fact, by the early 1980s, the rising cost of copper was becoming a major issue, which would later result in the mint changing the composition of pennies altogether in 1982. So why does the 1980 penny stand out among other years? The answer lies in the fact that the 1980 Lincoln penny, like other pennies minted in the late 70s and early 80s, was produced using the traditional copper composition, 95% copper and 5% zinc, before the transition to a mostly zinc-based alloy in 1982. This makes the 1980 penny a piece of history, as it was one of the last pennies ever produced with a significant amount of copper before the change was made. And as with any coin from a specific historical period, this one holds particular appeal to collectors. Now, let's talk about the design of the 1980 Lincoln penny. For many of us, the design of the Lincoln penny is a familiar and iconic one. The obverse, or front, of the coin features the image of President Abraham Lincoln, facing to the right. This design, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, has been in use since the penny was first minted in 1909. Lincoln, one of the most revered figures in American history, has remained the face of the penny for over a century. The reverse side of the 1980 penny features the iconic image of the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of the nation's unity and strength. This reverse design, created by Frank Gasparo, was used from 1959 until 2008, when it was replaced by the shield design. But what makes the 1980 penny so interesting to collectors? Well, it's all about the rarity and potential errors that make certain 1980 pennies stand out. Most pennies minted during this period were used in everyday transactions and have suffered from wear and tear, which means that they are not as highly valued as some other coins from different eras. However, there are some very specific factors that can increase the value of a 1980 Lincoln penny dramatically, and some of these factors may even surprise you. One of the biggest reasons that a 1980 penny can become so valuable is its condition. As with any coin, the higher the grade or condition of the coin, the more valuable it becomes. Coins that are in pristine condition, meaning they have minimal signs of wear, scratches, or discoloration, are far more valuable than those that have been circulating in daily use. If you have a 1980 penny in uncirculated condition, free of damage and with sharp, crisp details, you might have something very special on your hands. But there's more. Certain minting errors can make a 1980 penny worth significantly more than its face value. Minting errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process, resulting in a coin that is unique and different from the standard issue. Collectors are always on the lookout for these types of error coins, as they are often one of a kind and can fetch much higher prices. So, if you happen to find a 1980 penny with a minting error, you could have a valuable treasure in your collection. One of the most sought-after types of error for the 1980 penny is the double die error. This occurs when the design on the die used to strike the coin becomes misaligned, causing the design to appear twice or doubled. In the case of the 1980 penny, this could be especially noticeable on the date or the word Liberty. If you have a 1980 penny with this kind of error, you may have something that could dramatically increase in value. Another error that can make your 1980 penny more valuable is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not aligned properly during the minting process, causing part of the design to be struck off the coin's edge. Off-center pennies are rare and highly prized by collectors, and a well-defined off-center 1980 penny could be worth much more than its face value. Beyond minting errors, another factor that can drive the value of your 1980 penny is its rarity. While many of the 1980 pennies were produced in large quantities, certain variations and types of the coin are rarer than others. For instance, the 1980 pennies minted in certain locations, such as the Denver Mint, which is marked with a D, might be rarer than those minted in other locations. Similarly, certain versions of the coin, depending on the strike and composition, may also be less common and therefore more valuable. It's also worth noting that the 1980 penny is part of a series of pennies produced in the late 1970s and early 1980s that have become increasingly popular among collectors due to the change in composition that occurred in 1982. As the 1980 penny was one of the last to feature the copper content, it holds special significance in the world of coin collecting, and demand for these coins has been steadily increasing over the years. Now, let's get to the part you've all been waiting for. Just how much could a 1980 Lincoln penny be worth? The answer, of course, depends on the condition of the coin and whether it has any rare minting errors. If you have a 1980 penny in perfect, uncirculated condition, you're already looking at a potentially valuable coin. However, if your penny has one of the more sought-after minting errors, like a double die or off-center strike, the value could skyrocket. So, what's the highest value we've seen for a 1980 Lincoln penny? If you have a well-preserved, uncirculated 1980 penny, or even better, one with an error like a double die, you could be looking at a coin worth $75,000. Yes, that's right, $75,000. A 1980 penny with the right combination of factors, including rarity, condition, and error, could fetch a truly impressive sum on the market. That's right, folks. A simple penny that you might have overlooked or casually tossed in a jar could be worth far more than you could ever imagine. So, if you have any 1980 pennies lying around, be sure to examine them carefully. You could be holding on to a valuable piece of history. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare and valuable coins, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future discoveries. Happy collecting, and remember, you never know what treasures might be hiding in your pocket.